To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Banis Clemens? Here. Mrs. Cullen? Mrs. Dolan? Ms. Kildare? Mr. Kraus?
Here.
Mrs. Miller?
Here.
Mrs. Walters?
Here.
Mrs. Yardley? Dr. Yarnell?
Here.
Okay, first up is public comment. The Pennridge School Board welcomes public comment. According to Policy 903, we remind everyone of the following. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. A speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please note that these sessions are designated for comments to protect the confidentiality and privacy rights of all members of our community. The board encourages members of the public to direct any comments regarding particular individuals, such as students or district employees, privately to the superintendent or other appropriate administrators or board members, or to communicate with the board and superintendent privately by sending an email to psdschoolboard@pennridge.org. Questions raised and not addressed may be followed up at a later time. Okay, first up we have Tyler Sessa.
My name is Tyler Sessa. I live in Percy Borough, and I'm a graduate.
There you go.
My name is Tyler Sessa. I live in Percy Borough, and I'm a graduating senior. I qualified to be a maritime enforcement specialist officer in the Coast Guard in December of 2017. I committed to the late entry program in January at the age of 17. I feel that all Pennridge students who have enlisted into the military should have the option to wear their branch's sash to graduation because we are all equal. I, Tyler Sessa, have qualified and committed to serve our country and want to proudly represent my commitment and my representing class of 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph DeStefano.
Good evening to the board. Good evening to everybody that came out tonight. My name is Joseph DeStefano. I'm from Sashes Borough. Back in June of 2017, I enlisted in the Army National Guard as 11 Bravo Infantry. At the time, I did not go to basic training. My ship date was pushed back until June of this year. I also believe that students who have enlisted in the military should be able to wear their sashes because we are equal. And I would like to explain the Army values. It's leadership, it's loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. There are many students that are in the National Guard in Pennridge High School. We all have the same drill weekends, we all get paid for our drill weekends. Not every student has gone through basic training. Now, since I haven't gone to basic training, that might make another student more elite than me. But we are all brothers and sisters in the military. My belief is not going against what you guys believe or what I believe, but this is just what I believe in. And I would hope, and I pray about it, that it could just be seen as equality. Because to a military member, it doesn't seem like equality. We all do the same thing. It's just some of us haven't gone through training yet. But no matter what, we will always back each other up 100%, no matter what. Thank you for your time.
Sue Furlong?
I want to speak at the Finance Committee meeting, please.
Okay. Are there any other public comments? No? Seeing none. First of all, I want to thank both of you for your service. We are honored and admire your commitment at such a young age. And I just want to give you a little history on this situation. Within the last few days, this was brought to board members' attention that there were concerns that there were students who had completed their boot camp and that they had been given the option of wearing their uniform or wearing their cap and gown. And they did not want to choose between the two and wanted to be able to wear a sash. And so that was the issue that was brought to our attention. And so an exception was made for those 4 students to wear those sashes. It was not clear to us, in the few people that we had talked to regarding this issue, it wasn't clear that all members of the military qualified for the sashes. We didn't realize that because you have to complete the training to qualify for the uniform. We weren't aware that the sashes applied to everyone. So that was the basis of that exception. The administration was contacting all of the different branches to see if they would be able to get the sashes in time for all of our students who have been enlisted and committed to the military to wear those. So so I'm going to be talking to the administration, and that's going to be a decision that we'll be able to get back to you on.
Megan, can
Hi, I'm Jennifer Glendenning. I'm from Hilltown Township. My son is Troy Glendenning, who is one of the kids that did complete basic training last summer. Kind of what you're saying is not really what had happened and what had transpired with all this. If you remember last year, there were quite a few graduates too that had also completed basic training that were not allowed to wear their sashes. At that time, we were told that it was too late in the game to do anything. It was probably around this time, maybe 2 weeks before graduation, same kind of thing. We were all under the assumption that it would be something that would be brought to the table for next year's graduates, so we wouldn't have this issue. Emails were sent out to Dr. Radigan about it, not by me, by Mrs. Hertzberger, who is not here, who is Peter and Kevin's mom about it, with no response. This was at least over a month ago. By law in the state of Pennsylvania, these 4 boys can wear their military dress uniforms. We were told, I hate to say this, but the school made it seem like they were allowing them to wear them. But in reality, I found out not that long ago that it actually is a state law, that they can wear their military dress uniforms. Where we have the problem there is that Peter and Kevin, when they came back from basic training, had to turn in their dress blues. They don't even have them to wear. And to be honest with you, Troy said to me, you know, I'm still a high school graduate. I want to wear my cap and gown. For 13 years, I've dreamed about wearing my cap and gown at my high school graduation. So he's got Pennridge pride, but then he's got Army pride too. This kid has served 19 months. He is a private first class. He has had 2 promotions. If tomorrow a bomb dropped and we needed to go to war, my son could go to war tomorrow. That is the difference. And yes, I know they are all brothers. They all have each other's back. My son loves these two boys over here. They've grown up together. They've known each other. He's known Joe. God, they had their first Holy Communion together. You know, they've known each other forever. It's not about that, but this isn't like this is something that just poof came up a week ago. This was happening last year too. I don't have a problem with these boys wearing the sashes. Our kids don't have problems with that. But we can't sit there and go, they're unified, they're the same, because they're not, you know. My son has been on payroll from the Army for 19 months. He's been going to drill just like Joe's been going to drill before going to basic. My kid has been done it. He enlisted in November of 2016 as a junior in high school when he turned 17. So he's been living the Army for 19 months. That's really all I had to say. I just wanted to make sure that people didn't think that this was just something that came to light in the last 2 weeks. It's not. This has been something that has been, you know, an issue. So, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, yeah, I do recall this being a concern that was brought up last year, and that it was, again, the 11th hour, and there was discussion that it would be brought up at a later date, and it never was. And, you know, the first, you know, as I can tell you, my first introduction to this issue this year has been in the last few days, me personally. And you know, I believe that is the case for the other board members that I have spoken to. But you know, I think I don't think, you know, this issue was not brought to our attention, but I think the administration was just responding with what their procedure had always been, and you know, it just didn't get shared with us that there were parents who were expressing these concerns until these concerns were brought to us. So, thank you.
I'd like to make a comment.
It's not really the opportunity
It's okay, but I'm going to do it.
You can
I'm
do
going
it
to
at
do
the
it.
end.
No, I'm going to do it. Excuse me.
No, you're out of order.
Am I?
Yeah, you are actually.
Well, that's a shame. You'll just have to go with it.
No, I don't have to.
Well, then call
You have to
security and
follow
have me
the
evicted.
rules. So,
Anyway.
the first committee report is for personnel.
Oh, okay. I'll wait. Don't you
Mrs.
worry.
Walters. You can, and then at the end, when you can,
You're right.
have an
Okay.
opportunity.
You're fine. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of the superintendent personnel.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, and I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the 6-12 science supervisor to appoint Dr. Tina Dormer, effective date to be determined.
I'll second. Any questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Dr. Dorm.
Thank you to the board and to everyone in attendance tonight. I am truly humbled and honored to accept this position. I view this as a wonderful opportunity to bring my passion and enthusiasm for science and education to this exceptional school district and community. I understand that I'm following in the footsteps of a clearly outstanding and highly respected educator, and I embrace the challenge of continuing that legacy of excellence and of maintaining a focus on what is best for our students, teachers, and families. I will work every day to inspire our students and empower them to value and pursue lifelong learning, and to realize that everyone is capable of achieving things that may not yet seem possible. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to working with everyone in this wonderful district.
Okay, new business.
Am I allowed to speak now? Oh, well, thank you.
I appreciate you following the rules.
Oh, yes, my dear. So, to your point, this was definitely discussed extensively last year, and I don't understand why wearing the sashes was not brought to the attention to the public and the board sooner. Also, we spent a whole night talking about moving graduation to Hellman Field, and yet we never discussed wearing the sashes. So I don't understand how this was not brought to the attention and not discussed, and how this was not part of your agenda. I don't understand. And we have a military father on the board, and I think you're remiss in saying that putting this on the administration. I think you are remiss in putting this on the administration that this was not brought to the board when this was talked extensively last year, and this should have been. Instead of worrying about Hellman Field, maybe we should have been talking about wearing sashes. Also, I think it's really it's an exclusionary policy that only 4 of 40-some military students are allowed to demonstrate their commitment to the military and to serving our country. I think that is outrageous. It should be either all or none. So only 4, that is really, really unfair. They have made a commitment to the military to serve our country, to lay their life on the line, and they are being prevented from wearing a sash because they didn't go through boot camp or basic training. I'm sorry, I think that is really a disservice to our students who are attending the military.
Well, to your point, when I was approached recently, I was told by one of the military moms that she had sent several emails and had never gotten a response from our administration. I said, did you send them to the PSD school board at Pennridge.org? And she said, no. I'm not sure if she didn't know to do that or what, but that was the first time I had heard about it, and that's when I brought it to the attention that it needed to be brought to. So you can't blame the new people on this board when clearly there were 5 other members who knew that this was going on.
I didn't blame it on the new members.
With all due respect, though, if it was something that's such a hot topic, why didn't you bring it up during the discussions of Hellman Field? That's a point that I'm just coming across.
Thank you. Honestly, Lisa, I'm on my way out, so this really doesn't impact me, this decision. It is a cop-out.
Okay, so to review, this was talked about last year. I don't remember quite this amount of passion about it, but it was discussed last year, and we were told that it would be revisited this year by the administration. By the administration, let's emphasize that point, because it's something that is the discretion of the administration. And we were all comfortable with that. But when, and that went through, and as I understand it, there were conversations happening. The timelines, I can't be sure of. Of course, I wasn't privy to the emails that went back and forth, but I do know that there was an effort being made by the administration to some extent. And as Mrs. Banis-Clemens said, I received an email that I think a parent sent to all of us. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if it was just myself, or I assume it was all of us. And that's when I learned that it was an issue. I've had personal conversations with people that I know, but again, this was something that was being taken care of by the administration. Even in those conversations that I had with those parents, this was something, and I was comfortable with that because it's their decision. So, and again, as Mrs. Banis-Clemens said, this, the way it was presented, and forgive us for misunderstanding it, but it was presented as like our NHS students wear golden tassels. It was presented as something that was only available to certain people who were eligible for it. Now we've come to learn something different. I don't think anyone can be faulted here, and I don't think there's anyone sitting here on this board who doesn't honor every single one of the military students. I honor them, and it's insulting to me, with my family history, to have any other suggestion made to that effect. So we honor everyone's commitment. We're trying to do the best we can. The administration was trying to do the best it can, and there was just misunderstanding. So I don't want there to be any negative characterizations to this. We're all looking forward to having a conversation about it and resolving it. So to bring in tension like this is so unnecessary, and I don't know why it continues to happen.
The tension has been brought in
I would,
by the public. I would like to have Dr. Radigan's opinion on this, since the administration has been mentioned many times. Dr. Radigan, could you give us your opinion of this?
Let me start with the traditions that have happened at Pennridge. Basically, at graduation, since I've been here, the students have come in gowns, green or white. And it was decided a while ago not to really have people wear sashes and stoles and cords because they thought it was too distracting, and you said about equality, everyone is graduating. Whether you got there with a 4.0, a 2.0, you've been in 20 clubs or 7 clubs, and certainly not to diminish anybody in the military. I second what everybody said here about how much we respect everything you do and keep us safe. And it's quite an honor that you're here and you're doing this for our country. But the whole goal was to keep things even keeled, but yet at every graduation, they always asked anybody entering the military to stand. And inevitably, those of you who have been there, they get a standing ovation, and it's really quite moving. You kind of get chills from that. Last year, for the first time, we also acknowledged the students that we learned had completed boot camp. I think there were a handful of them. So when we realized that this was going to be an issue again, myself and the high school administration and Dr. Price started talking about this as early as last summer. And we said, you know, we have to decide, because if other groups, such as this honor society or this club, are going to be allowed to wear sashes or cords, we're going to have to tell them now so they can order them. And it was decided that we would follow what we did last year, because it was so memorable, that we would have the students stand, and we would also honor those who had completed boot camp as a separate thing. So it wasn't that we didn't talk about this, but as Mrs. Cohen said, this is an administrative decision. It's board is governance, and certainly the board can weigh in when they get opinions from all of you. But it was only recently that we heard a lot about the sashes. So we're trying to be fair. We don't know if we can get the sashes for all the different groups. We have about 7 different branches of students. 22, I learned today, have actually enlisted and signed on the dotted line. They would be the only ones allowed to wear sashes. I also heard that one branch doesn't even allow sashes at all. They only give a pin. So there would be some difference there. So again, it's nothing to diminish anything that any of you have done, are doing, but remember, we have 600 students graduating, and we don't want to insult anybody, so we're trying to make it a special night for all. I hope that made it clear.
Thank you. With all due respect, I really feel like joining the military has a higher precedence than a lot of other things. I mean, that's a completely different. It's completely different than being in just a club. They're putting their lives on the line for our freedoms, and if that's what they're and I'm sorry, I learned about this. I'm sorry, I learned about this being an issue maybe a week ago, and that's when I decided I was going to fight for these kids, because that is what they deserve.
And they will be recognized one way or another at the graduation.
I would just like to add a little bit of clarity. When we were first notified about this situation within the last several days, there were 5 board members who reached out to me passionately about fixing this and letting these kids be able to wear these sashes. The passionate board member tonight was not one of those people. When this topic came up last year, there was a different majority on this board, and that majority was not passionate about fixing this issue last year. And that majority was controlling this board until a couple of months ago. So for you to suggest that somehow this was my responsibility, that I didn't bring it up, I only became the president within, what, a month? So I don't know when you expected me to bring this up on the agenda. I think you're directing your concerns to the wrong place. And I find it interesting that you have this sudden passion for something that everyone else has had a passion for trying to fix for a long time. I completely agree, and you can see that a majority of this board, if not all of this board, because not everyone has spoken, agrees. All we're trying to do is look at the logistics of this to make sure that we can carry it out on time, that we can carry it out and everyone can do it. That's the only deciding factor. It was not something where we are trying to compare that one is better than the other. It was simply that initially we did not know that the sashes applied to everyone, and so now we're just making sure that everyone can get them on time.
Excuse me, I don't appreciate you telling me how I feel about myself. I've been approached by many parents. So to think that I just walked in here today with this on my slate to discuss, it's really insulting. It's really insulting.
When we were outnumbered, so. The next school board meeting is scheduled for June 18th. An executive session was held on May 21st for the purpose of negotiations. An executive session will follow tonight's Finance and Facilities Committee meeting for the purpose of discussion of the terms and conditions of employment of a number of district employees, as well as labor and arbitration matters. Questions or comments? Yes.
To be, oh,
Yeah, to approve the.
Oh, sorry, I have one more motion. Motion to approve the 2018-2019 school board meeting schedule. July 23rd, August 20th, September 24th, October 22nd, December 3rd, January 21st, February 25th, March 25th, April 15th, May 13th, and June 17th, with a special board meeting, if needed, for July 10th and December 11th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Comments or questions from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Back to questions and comments from guests.
Hi. I would just like
say your
to,
name and where you're from.
again, my name is Joseph DeStefano. I am from Salisbury Borough. Thank you, Mrs. Glendenning. That was I appreciate that very much. I would also like to express that even though I haven't been through basic training, my first drill weekend with the Army National Guard, I was issued 3 pairs of PT uniforms. Within the last year, I was ranked from a private E1 to a private E2 and then to a private first class without going to basic training. Okay? So, again, views are views, but I understand that you're going to acknowledge the students that have enlisted in the military. But the day that you enlist, you raise your right hand and you take that oath under God to protect and serve this country, no matter what it takes. And personally, I find it quite disrespectful in a way. I don't know if I'm taking it the wrong way or either way, but I feel like I'm going to take it disrespectfully. For the sole fact that I rose my hand, I took that oath. Without going to basic training, I ranked up twice, 2 pay grades, without any prior knowledge, without any training. I do the same drill weekends that students in the reserve component of the military do. I get paid the same wages. So I have to say thank you again.
Alrighty. Jennifer Glendenning from Hilltown Township again. I just want to bring up something, it actually doesn't even have to do with the sashes. It kind of brings up something that we just talked about students' accomplishments and everybody needs to be the same and nobody's standing out. What's wrong with that? What's wrong? What's wrong with showing students' accomplishments? Because we live in a world that everybody gets a participation award. And that's not real life. You have kids that have, been playing soccer since they've been 3 years old and have made varsity when they were freshmen, and they've given, they've practiced in soccer like they have a part-time job for their whole life. That's just an example. There's other things. But I'm going to start off this off, because this is how I should have started this off. I am a photographer that works for Life Touch, and I do senior portraits, coincidentally. And coincidentally, I will be here next week doing senior portraits for the class of 2019. I go to different schools. I go from schools all the way from New Hampshire, all the way down to North Carolina. And I see many different attires for different schools. And I will tell you, when I do schools that have stoles and have cords and have that, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. Nothing, instead of looking green, white. Things are changing now. I mean, even to be honest with you, girls in white, boys in green, schools aren't doing that anymore because of gender identity and that kind of thing. Everybody's in the same color. But I just don't see what's wrong with showing students' accomplishments. Is it because we're afraid of hurting the person's feelings that doesn't have a stole or doesn't have a cord or doesn't have a sash? I guess that's my question. I don't see what's wrong with showing students' accomplishments. If that's what it boils down to, that everybody has to look unified, then The National Honor Society should have more than a tassel. That is a huge accomplishment. They should have that gold cord. They should have, National Honor Society has a beautiful, beautiful hood that is worn. It has the National Honor Society emblem on it. It is gorgeous. I take these kids pictures with that and the gold cord. It is beautiful. They deserve that. They've worked very hard for that. So it's not just about the kids in the military. If we're talking about that, every kid should be showing their accomplishments and not just being in plain green and plain white. So just a thought for future years. That's all. Thanks.
Okay.
Sue Furlong. Is this one?
There we go. Wrong red light. Sue Furlong, West Rock Hill Township. This was discussed last year, and a portion of the rules concerning this are in state law, and therefore that guides our administration. When this came up last year, and there was a lack of guidance, and therefore we sort of fumbled this at the last minute, it would have been the right time for the policy committee to jump in there and say, we need a policy to fill in where the state law drops off. And I believe Ms. Miller was in charge of that policy committee.
I believe it was Mrs. Banis-Clemens.
Well, Ms. Banis-Clemens. So that is what this board needs to do. Give some guidance about recognizing the special accomplishments of the different students. And I agree with this woman. If you participated and you worked hard and you earned an honor, you know, we get them up here in front of the board meeting and there's like 5 people in the room. I capture it on the video, but I'm an amateur. That's, you know, let them celebrate graduation, including what they have accomplished in the last 12 years. I didn't like the remark, I'm on the way out. Well, you're on the stage, and until the day you resign, every last one of you is a board member and needs to do what's right. That's no excuse. If you've already resigned mentally and emotionally, get off the stage now.
I would like to share that I support
excuse me.
I supported wearing the sashes.
That's not what I'm saying. Your remark was, I'm on the way out. If you're that far removed that it's everybody else's fault but yours, then you need to get off the stage and let them govern. Because you're blaming 8 other people as if you had no ability to participate or to move things forward. So if you don't have that ability, get off the stage. Now, as far as the sashes, I would rather err on the side of allowing a student, maybe let's say there's 42 people who right now have expressed a concern and a desire to join the military. And we let 42 students wear that sash. One of them has an illness in the family or something and never signs that piece of paper. I would rather err on the side of letting 1 or 2 people wear that sash that may ultimately not have deserved it than to deny it to the other 39. Those people's intent is to guard us, protect us, reserve our freedoms. And I don't care what stage of that process they're in. If that's their intent, then recognize it. And as for the plain vanilla green and white with no other accoutrements on their robe, I think that's laziness. That's really easy, simple. This is what you can wear. I'm almost done. This is what you can wear. Don't bother us with the rest of it. That's wrong. Real wrong. Let these kids show their accomplishments.
Thank you. Any other comments?
it's just Stefano from Sashes Borough.
You're only allowed to speak once during your comment period, unless it's okay by the entire board.
This
That's
will
just
be
our regular
the last
policy.
one.
Is it okay?
Just one more. Thank you.
Sorry.
So I was in contact with multiple recruiters today through the Marine Corps, the Army National Guard, Active Army, Army Reserve components. These recruiters will have sashes and pins on hand because that is what happens in the office. If you go into an office, you see t-shirts, you see backpacks, you see just stuff that they hand out. The sashes are on hands in the recruiting office. Now, speaking for other military members that I go to drill with and stuff like that as well, because they are not as upfront about this, because they don't want to voice their opinion because they're scared of lashback. Times have changed, you know. Mrs. Glendenning said it. The times have changed. Graduation is supposed to be one of the most happiest days that a senior can have. We've been waiting for this for 12 years. And it's one of the most uplifting days that we could ever wish for. We've worked so hard for it. It's supposed to be a fun time, not a uniformity time. And I know I'm going to get disagreements on it. I know I might get agreements on it. But it's about expressing yourself, expressing your achievements. Not everybody has to wear the same thing. Everybody has to be the same. It's not 1943, it's not 1987, it's 2018. Times have changed. Thank you. This is the last time I'll be up. Thank you. I apologize.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I just want to respond to a few things. As far as bringing up honoring other accomplishments, that is a discussion that we had as a result of this topic. We're not going to make those changes, obviously, a week before graduation, but it is on our radar, and we're hoping to have discussions on that in the fall so that we can decide where, you know, what things to include in, and allow people to wear different things for. As far as the comment about the policy committee, the procedure for getting something onto an agenda was that it either had to be put on by the administration or you had to contact at least 4 other board members and get support from 4 other board members to be able to add it onto the agenda. So even though it wasn't necessarily up to the committee chair, even the chair could not put something on the committee unless they had 4 other people who agreed to put it there. And you had said about taking it as an insult. I think we are agreeing with you. I think all we're saying is we want to verify that we can do it, and if we can do it, then I think the administration will be in contact with you, hopefully tomorrow, to let you know. Okay? We just don't want to get into a situation where some of you can, and then some of you can't get it, and then we're back to what you're concerned about today, which is that, you know, you feel like certain people can and you can't. So we just want to make sure that everyone can get them so everyone can be included.
About 3/4 of us do have them already.
You have them already?
Correct.
Well, the administration can touch base with you tomorrow, but I think, you know, that can be, the conversation is discussing with them if that's something, they can make sure that everyone has them or can get them, then I don't see there being any issues. Okay? I mean, I'm comfortable saying, if the board is comfortable saying that, you know, pending everyone being able to get them in time, you know, we're okay with you wearing them. That's my sense. If anyone else would like to speak up, otherwise, feel free.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay. Motion from Mrs. Kildare, seconded from Mr. Krause. We are adjourned. Thank you.